Welcome to the world of science fiction Neon's Alien. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the notification bell so you never miss a new story from Neon's Alien universe. The crowd roared like thunder. On the planet Vorgar, in the middle of a burning desert, thousands of aliens gathered around the great arena. Some were tall with horns. Others had metal limbs, sharp teeth, or glowing eyes. But they all came for one reason: the fight. The arena of chains was not a place of sport. It was a place of pain. Beasts battled slaves, prisoners fought for air, and the crowd screamed for blood. Max Carter, the only human in the arena stands, watched silently. He wore dusty clothes and a hood over his head. His boots were cracked, his water pack nearly empty. He had been traveling for days. He only came to Vorgar for fuel, but now he stood in the middle of monsters, watching something that twisted his gut. A girl, no, an alien child, was being dragged into the pit. She was small, thin, and shaking. Her skin was light blue with tiny silver scales. Her wrists were chained and her long dark hair was tied back roughly. She looked around, terrified, as the heavy gate slammed shut behind her. Across the pit, a large beast waited. 10 feet tall, muscles like stone, yellow tusks, spikes on its arms. It growled. The crowd cheered. A voice thundered through speakers above. Today's sacrifice, a Valerie girl born to serve, now to fight or die. Max's jaw clenched. He looked around. No one cared. Not the guards, not the traders, not the families in the stands. The girl had no weapon, no armor. Just fear in her eyes. And the beast was already charging. Max didn't think. He just moved. He jumped over the railing before anyone could stop him. Down, down, into the sand, right into the pit. The crowd gasped. Is that a human? Does he want to die? Get him out. But it was too late. Max landed hard and rolled onto his feet. Dust rose around him. The girl screamed and backed into the corner. The beast turned toward Max now, confused for a moment. Max raised his arms and shouted, "She's not a fighter. She's just a kid." No one listened. The arena guards laughed. The announcer howled through the speakers. A second victim. The human fool joins the match. Max turned to the girl and ran to her side. I'm not here to hurt you, he said softly. She stared at him, breathing fast. Behind them, the beast stomped the ground, preparing to charge. Max pulled the girl. Behind him. No one else will protect you, he said. So I will. The beast roared and charged. Max closed his eyes, bracing for the hit. But it didn't come. He opened his eyes slowly. The beast had stopped. It stood just feet away, staring at him. Its nose twitched. Its head tilted. The crowd was silent now. Then the beast turned its head and looked at the girl and lowered its arms. The crowd erupted in confusion. What is happening? Kill them! Fight! The beast didn't move. It stepped back and, for a moment, it bowed its head. Max stared, confused. The girl whispered in a shaky voice. It smells mercy on you. What? Max asked. She looked at the beast again. It was made for killing. But it knows you aren't here to hurt. It can sense it. Max looked around. The guards were not pleased. One barked into a comm. Shut it down. Send in stunners. Kill the human. Clean this mess. Max grabbed the girl's hand. We have to go now. They ran. Through the side gate, up broken stairs. Alarms rang. Guards shouted. But Max didn't let go of her hand. Not for a second. They burst through a doorway and into a dark tunnel under the arena. Behind them, chaos filled the air. The beast stayed in the pit, watching. Still not moving. Max and the girl ran deeper into the tunnels. No one else came to help. No one tried to stop what was happening, because no one else had ever jumped into the pit. No alien. No warrior. Only the human. The alarms echoed through the underground tunnels. Red lights flashed. Sirens howled. Guards shouted orders into radios. Max Carter and the alien girl ran through the darkness, feet slamming against metal grates. dust rained down from the ceiling as the entire arena shook from above. "She's not an animal," Max shouted, as if anyone was listening. "They were going to kill you for sport," he said to the girl beside him. "And they called it entertainment." The girl's breath came in short gasps. She was still shaking. Still afraid. But she held Max's hand tightly. Behind them, bootsteps thundered. The guards were coming. "They're close," she whispered, eyes glowing faintly in the dark. Max stopped at a rusted door, tried the handle. Locked. He stepped back. Then kicked hard. The old hinges snapped and the door flew open. Inside was a storage room full of old weapons, cages, and junk. He pulled the girl in and shut the door softly. For a moment, silence. Max leaned against the wall, breathing hard. The girl looked at him confused. "No one has ever done this," she said quietly. "No one has ever stepped in." He looked at her. "I couldn't just watch them kill you." Her eyes narrowed. "Why not? You don't even know me." Max shrugged. "I didn't need to." Footsteps passed the door. Heavy. Fast. Then faded. They were safe. For now. She sat on a crate and looked at him carefully. "I'm called Thyra," she said. Her voice was soft but clear. Max nodded. "Max." She pointed to her wrist where the chain still hung. "Do you have anything to cut this?" He searched through the crates, found a small cutting torch, half-charged, but working. He turned it on and carefully burned through the metal. The chain fell. She rubbed her wrist and looked up. "Thank you." Outside, a voice echoed through the loudspeakers. "The human is a criminal. He has interrupted sacred tradition. Anyone who helps him will be executed." Max sighed. "Great. Now I'm sacred." Thyra tilted her head. "You are different. Most beings here fear power. You fear something else." He looked at her. "What?" She stared at him. "You fear doing nothing." He smiled faintly. "Yeah, I guess I do." They moved through the tunnels again, carefully now. Guards had locked most exits. But Thyra knew secret paths. Old servants' tunnels, slave routes, forgotten stairways. They crawled through vents, climbed down drain shafts, and crossed a collapsed hallway filled with broken bones. Max covered her when rocks fell. Thyra helped him when his foot slipped. They were already acting like a team. At one tunnel split, Max stopped. He heard a sound. Not boots, not alarms. Breathing. Heavy. Strained. He peeked around the corner. A small cage. Inside it. A creature. Tall. Thin. Covered in bruises and scars. An old fighter. Eyes shut tight. Waiting for death. Max reached for the cage latch. Thyra stopped him. "You can't save everyone," she whispered. Max looked at her. "No, but I can try." He opened the cage. The creature blinked, weak, then looked at Max. Not with fear, but with surprise. Then it whispered, "Go, before they find you." Max and Thyra kept moving. Everywhere they went, they saw suffering. Chained fighters, mistreated beasts, broken children. It wasn't just sport, it was a machine of pain, and no one questioned it, until now. At last, they reached a side exit. An old gate barely holding together. Max pried it open, but before they could step out, a group of guards appeared, 5 of them, armed, angry. One raised a baton. "There he is, the human freak." Max stepped in front of Thyra. "No weapons," he said, "just words." The guards laughed. "You think words matter here?" Max pointed at Thyra. "She's not a monster. She's a child, and I saw all of you cheer when she was sent to die. I'm not from here, but I know right from wrong. You can kill me, sure. But everyone here saw what I did. And now they know. Only the human cared enough to jump." The guards paused, not because they believed him, but because for once someone said it out loud. Suddenly a voice crackled through a radio. "Stop, orders from above. The girl is no longer a target. Take them alive, both of them." Max blinked. Thyra looked stunned. "Why?" he asked. The lead guard stepped forward. "Because she carries the royal mark," he growled. "She is more than you know, human. And now, you are tied to her fate." The chains rattled again, this time not around Thyra's wrists but around Max's. They had both been captured, again, dragged back to the heart of the arena compound, through cold stone tunnels and iron doors. But this time, the guards didn't laugh. They looked afraid, because something had changed. Something was watching them. Max sat on the cold floor of a holding cell. Across from him, Thyra rubbed her bare arms. Her eyes glowed faintly in the dark. "You shouldn't have followed me," she whispered. "You shouldn't have saved me." Max gave a tired smile. "Too late now." She looked at him seriously. "I carry something they fear." Before Max could ask, the door burst open. A tall, armored alien entered, one of the pit lords, owners of the arena. His voice was sharp, cruel. "The human has made a scene. The crowd is angry. The fighters are confused, but we will end it clean." He pointed at Thyra. "Back into the pit, one more fight, no rules, no tricks." Max stood. "She's not a fighter." The pit lord laughed. "She doesn't need to be, because she's not meant to survive." Thyra stepped forward, calm. "If I enter, he enters too." The pit lord stopped laughing. "He's not a warrior." "He is now," she said. Later, as the gates opened again, Max stood in the arena sands once more. The crowd roared louder than before. They remembered him, the human who jumped in. Now, they wanted to see him bleed. Across the pit, a new monster waited, bigger than the last, faster, with black armor fused into its flesh. It snarled, stomping its hooved feet, and behind it, chained, but standing tall, was the first beast Max had faced. The one that had spared them. The one that had bowed. Max stared at the beast. It stared back. No growl, no attack, just understanding. The announcer shouted, "Let the fight begin!" The black-armored beast charged. Max shoved Thyra behind him. "No weapons," he muttered. "Great." The monster roared, and then something happened. The first beast, the one who had bowed, broke its chains. With a furious roar, it leapt forward. Not at Max, not at Thyra, but at the other beast. The crowd gasped, the guards shouted, and the announcer stammered. Max pulled Thyra away as the two monsters clashed in the middle of the arena. Claws, teeth, blood. But the first beast, the one who had once obeyed, was different. Now it wasn't fighting because it was told, it was fighting because it chose to. Thyra watched in awe. That creature, it knows. Max looked at her. Knows what? That mercy is not weakness. The black-armored monster was fast, but wild. The first beast was smarter, focused, protective. It used the chains still hanging from its arms like whips. It used its body as a shield between Thyra and the danger. The fight was short, but brutal, and in the end only one beast remained standing, bruised, bleeding, but victorious, and when it turned to face Max and Thyra, it didn't growl, it knelt. Max stepped forward slowly. The beast lowered its head. The crowd went silent. This wasn't a victory. This was a revolt. Suddenly doors slammed shut. Guards rushed in, blasters aimed. The pit lord screamed into comms. "Kill the human! Kill the girl! End this now!" But before they could fire, the arena lights cut out. A red flare burst into the sky. And from the shadows, dozens of slaves, fighters, and even low-ranking guards began to rise. Not to fight each other, but to stand behind Max. The voice of an old announcer crackled through. For the first time, the pit has turned, and the galaxy is watching. Above, in a royal cruiser orbiting the planet, a silent transmission played. A human standing beside an alien girl, a chained beast kneeling in front of them, and the crowd, quiet, afraid, awake. The princess who received the feed whispered, "Only a human would do this." The arena was silent. No roars, no cheers. only the soft breathing of beasts and the sound of a new truth rising. Max Carter stood in the middle of the blood-stained pit. His chest heaved with each breath. His body was bruised, but he was still standing. Beside him, Thera stared at the kneeling beast, not as a monster, but as an ally, a protector, a witness to something greater than fear. Suddenly, a voice crackled through the arena speakers. Lockdown initiated. Seal all exits by order of the Empire. Guards rushed in from every side, weapons raised, but none fired, because their eyes weren't on Max, they were on Thyra. One guard whispered, just loud enough, "That's the mark." Another dropped to one knee. "The girl, she wears the crown flame." Max looked at her, confused. "What are they talking about?" Thyra's eyes glowed faintly, her expression heavy. She turned toward Max and pulled back her sleeve. There, burned into her skin near her shoulder, was a symbol, a flickering flame wrapped in a silver circle. It pulsed softly with life. Max blinked. "What is that?" Thyra answered, voice calm but full of truth. "It is the royal seal of the House of Valeri. I am not just a girl, Max. I am a hidden heir." Max took a step back in shock. "You're a princess," she nodded. "My mother was empress. My blood is bound to the old line, but when I was born I was marked as unfit, too gentle, too curious. The council feared I would destroy their power, so they sold me to the pit, hidden, forgotten." Max clenched his fists. "They threw you in here because you were kind?" Thyra met his eyes. "No one rules the Empire with kindness." The kneeling beast beside them growled softly, but not at them, at the guards. It stood, placing itself between Max, Thyra, and the weapons now aimed. Some guards hesitated, others raised their guns higher. One shouted, "She's a threat to the crown. The human is protecting a traitor." Max stepped forward, his voice like fire. "She's not a traitor. She's the only one here with honor. You made her a prisoner, and she still forgave you. You chained her, and she still rose. Now she wears those chains like armor, and you're scared of her." The guards froze. The beast roared. The arena walls trembled. Suddenly, a new figure entered. Tall, cloaked, authority in every step, an imperial herald. He held a hollow scroll with the royal crest. His voice was cold. "By order of the High Council, Thyra of Valeri is to be executed at dawn." Max stood in front of her without pause. "Then I'll die with her." Thyra touched his shoulder. "No, Max. You've already done enough. You gave me what they never could." He looked at her. "What's that?" She smiled softly. "A choice." Then she did something no one expected. She stepped forward and raised her hand. "I call for sacred bond," she shouted, voice echoing through the arena. Gasps rippled. The herald stepped back in shock. What did you say?" Thyra repeated louder. "I, daughter of Valeri, choose the outsider as my sacred bond, as protector, witness, and equal." Everything stopped. Because by ancient law, a sacred bond could not be broken, not by council, not by empire, not even by war. The scroll in the herald's hand burned away on its own, reacting to the truth of the bond. And Max? He stood in disbelief. What just happened? Thyra smiled through tears. "You're not just part of this now. You're tied to the crown." And far above, in a command ship orbiting the planet, the true Empress watched the transmission feed. Her eyes narrowed, her voice calm. "So, the fire still burns in her." She turned to her guards. "Send no armies. I want to see what kind of man would fight for her without even knowing who she was. Maybe this human is worth watching." The stars whispered their names now. Max Carter, the first human ever to stand beside a royal alien and defy a throne. Thyra of Valeri, the lost heir, once thrown to the sand, now rising like fire from ash. And together, They were something dangerous, not because they had armies, not because they had power, but because they had something the Empire feared more than war. Hope. The sacred bond had been made. And when Thyra took Max's hand in front of thousands, beast, guard, prisoner, and citizen, something changed. The arena of chains didn't roar with bloodlust that day, it stood silent. Then someone clapped, then another, and soon, the pit shook with a different sound. Applause. But hope comes at a price. And far beyond the arena walls, others were watching. On a distant moon, in a marble hall filled with dark robes and cold eyes, the high circle of Valerie met in anger. She exposed herself. She bonded with a human. She turned the sacred vow into a joke. The voices clashed until one counselor slammed a fist onto the table. Then she leaves us no choice. We name her a heretic. And the human? Asked another. The answer was sharp. We put a price on his head. 1,000 royal crowns, dead or alive. Back on Vorgar, Max and Thyra hid in a quiet cave behind the arena cliffs. The beast, Velgrom, stood watch at the mouth of the cave, guarding them like a loyal soldier. Inside, Max tried to clean his wounds. Thyra sat near him, wrapping cloth around her arm. Max finally broke the silence. So, I'm a wanted man now? Thyra gave a half smile. You were the moment you jumped into the pit. He chuckled. I really didn't think this far ahead. She looked at him, more serious now. You didn't have to. That's what made it real. Suddenly, a holopad beeped in Max's satchel. He pulled it out. A message flashed across the screen. Warning, bounty alert, human male, Earth origin. Royal trader, do not approach without armed escort. Last seen in sacred arena, accompanied by fugitive heir. Trust no one. They are protected by heretic law. Max sighed. They really don't like us, huh? Thyra looked at the fire. They fear what we are. He raised an eyebrow. What are we? She looked into his eyes. A choice they didn't expect, a bond they didn't plan, and a story they can't control. Velgrom growled from the cave entrance. Someone was coming. Thyra stood fast. Max pulled a blade he took from the arena wall. They were ready, but the figure who entered didn't carry a weapon. She carried a flag, not royal, not imperial, just a simple cloth with a hand-painted symbol, 2 circles touching at the center, the old mark of unity. Behind her, 5 others stepped in. A young alien boy missing one arm, an old pit healer, a fighter with a broken horn, a mechanic, and a guard who once chained Thyra. We saw what you did, the woman said. We saw you break the chain. And now? She knelt before them. We want to help. Max looked stunned. Thyra whispered, It's starting. What is? Max asked. She held his hand. The part where others stop watching and start believing. That night, across 6 systems, people shared the story. A human who saved a slave. A beast who protected instead of killed. A girl with the blood of empires who chose love over fear. And with every whisper, the bounty grew. So, did the danger, but also did the hope. Far above, the true Empress of Valerie watched the spread of messages. She did not shout. She did not panic. She only spoke one command to her royal ship. Find them. Bring them to me. Alive. The sky turned red before dawn. It wasn't the sun. It was fire. The capital ship of Valerie had arrived, and with it, silence. In the cave, Max Carter woke with a cold feeling in his chest. The fire was out. The beast Velgrom was gone, and Thyra wasn't beside him. He stood fast, heart racing. Something was wrong. A sound echoed in the canyon. A ship. Small, fast, and rising. He ran to the cliff's edge, just in time to see it disappear into the clouds. He fell to his knees. No. Behind him, a message crackled from a stolen comm. The heretic has been taken, trial to be held in the great arena, judgment by combat. Max closed his eyes, then opened them slowly. The fire was gone from the sky, but something else began to burn inside him. She had saved him once. He had jumped for her. Now she was alone again, not for long. He walked to the wreckage of the pit gates, picked up armor from fallen guards, wrapped his hands in cloth. No sword. No blaster, only a broken spear, and his rage. That evening the arena of chains lit again, but it was no celebration, it was a show trial. The crowd was quiet. They weren't cheering, they were watching history. At the center stood Thyra. Her chains were new, but her eyes were strong. Across the pit, the announcer, one of the old cowards, spoke. Today, the heretic returns. She has one chance to survive, trial by blade against our chosen. If she wins, she walks. If she dies, her bond dies with her. A massive door opened, and out came the chosen fighter. Not a beast, not a guard, but something worse. A champion. Clone. Bred from the blood of 100 killers. Tall, armored, silent, programmed to end. Thyra didn't look scared. She just stared at the crowd, then whispered, "Where are you, Max?" The announcer lifted his hand. Begin. The champion clone raised its blade, but before it could take a step, a figure dropped from the upper platform right into the pit, a human. Dust exploded. The crowd stood. Everyone gasped. Thyra turned, and her eyes filled with light. Max. He stood slowly, blood on his hands, sand in his hair, a broken spear in his grip. "I told you," he said. "I don't run." The clone charged. Max didn't wait. He ran forward, roaring. The pit shook. Steel met steel. Max blocked the first hit, slid under the second, slashed the back of the clone's leg. The crowd screamed, not in rage, but in shock. Max fought with no training. No armor, only the will to protect. The clone kicked him hard. He flew back, landing beside Thyra. She reached for him. "You shouldn't be here." He smiled through blood. "Then why do I feel like I finally am?" The clone charged again. Max stood. No fear. This time, when he attacked, he wasn't alone. From the crowd, the beast, Velgrom, leapt over the wall. Guards shouted, weapons fired, but the beast didn't stop. Together, man, beast, and air stood in the sand. One human, one forgotten heir, one monster who chose kindness, and the clone. It fell, broken, beaten, and the arena roared. People cheered. They didn't know why, but something inside them had changed. Not because a human won a fight, but because he made it mean something. Thyra stood beside Max. The chains on her wrists glowed, and then vanished, burned away by the bond. Above them, a royal voice echoed across the sky. The Empress herself. Let them live. Let them be seen. The throne bleeds today, not with death, but with change. Max looked at Thyra. She looked at him. No crown, no command, just choice, and this time, they walked out of the pit together. The arena had never seen silence like this. No chains, no blood, no screams, only stillness. Max Carter stood in the center of the ring, his clothes torn, hands bruised, and blood drying on his cheek. Beside him stood Thyra, unchained for the first time in her life, and behind them the great beast Velgrom, head bowed in loyalty. Above them, royal drones hovered, broadcasting this moment across 1,000 systems. Millions watched from their homes, some in disbelief, others in awe. Because for the first time in the Empire's long, brutal history, a human had won without hatred. He didn't take a crown. He didn't spill revenge. He simply stood, alive, loyal, and unbroken. In the sky, a royal transport slowly descended. Its doors opened with a hiss, and from it, the Empress of Valari walked onto the pit floor. She wore no armor, no crown, only a plain black robe, and her voice was steady. "You were not meant to survive, human." Max looked up. "Yeah, well," he said, "you didn't plan for me." She studied him. You jumped into the pit for a girl you didn't know. She was about to die. You risked everything. I had something left. Like what? He turned to Thyra and said just one word. Her. The Empress nodded, then looked at Thyra. You claim him as sacred bond. Thyra stepped forward, voice proud. I claimed him because no one else would. And he proved himself, when none of you would. The Empress raised her hand, and the royal crest in the sky dimmed. Then so it shall be written. The crowd stood in silence, watching, waiting, and then it happened. The Empress dropped to one knee, before Max, before Thyra, and every noble fighter, servant, and soldier followed. One by one they kneeled before the man who had never asked for power. The man who had walked into the worst place in the galaxy, not to conquer but to protect, the one who stood alone when it mattered most. Later that night, Max sat with Thyra near a quiet fire far from the arena. The stars shimmered above them. She looked at him. You could have taken a title. A throne, a fleet. He smiled. I don't want to rule. She leaned against him. What do you want? He looked up at the stars. Just to know I didn't walk away. Across the galaxy, statues were built, not of kings, not of conquerors, but of a man in simple clothes, standing between a beast and a girl. Children learned his name in schools. The arena was shut down forever, and the empire began to change, not through war, but because one human made a different choice. They called him many things: warrior, rebel, savior, but the name that stayed, the one carved into stone, the human who stood alone.